All right, so you ready for this? We're tackling some pretty big questions today. We're talking truth, goodness, beauty, like the really big stuff, and even reality itself.
Whoa.
We're diving deep with this 1975 discussion between philosopher J. Krishnamurti, physicist David Bohm, and Dr. Parshar. Get ready. This one gets pretty intense, and it's going to stretch our brains a bit.
It is. It's fascinating because what I think is so cool about this conversation is that, they're not just trying to define these concepts like in a dictionary.
Right.
They're wrestling with how we experience them, how they relate to the world we perceive through our senses and our thoughts.
So it's not like a philosophy lecture.
Right.
It's like, how do these ideas actually play out in our life?
Exactly.
Oh.
And they start by tackling a concept we all deal with, like on a daily basis. Desire.
Right.
Krishnamurti challenges the kind of traditional view that desire comes from sensation, from seeing something and wanting it. He argues that true desire, like real desire, comes from perception, from really seeing the world as it is without the filters of our preconceived ideas and stuff.
That's interesting. So it's not just like seeing a delicious piece of cake and wanting to eat it.
Right.
It's something deeper.
Right. Krishnamurti uses the example of observing a corrupt society.
Okay.
He suggests that the desire to change it doesn't just come from seeing the corruption and feeling disgusted, but from a deeper understanding of its nature and its effects.
So it's like the more clearly you see something, the more it motivates you to act, whether it's to, indulge in a treat or to try and change the world.
That's a great way to put it. And this leads them to a really, really intriguing question. If perception is so powerful, how much does our thinking shape our reality?
Whoa.
They talk about the difference between what is and what is real.
Okay, now, I'm already feeling a little mind-bendy here. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Isn't what we see what is?
That's where it gets really interesting. They use the example of a tree. We can all agree a tree exists, right?
Yeah.
But is it just the physical object, the wood, the leaves?
Right.
Or is it also the concept of tree that we hold in our minds?
So are they saying the tree is somehow more than just the physical thing? That our thoughts about it are also part of its reality?
In a way, yes. And they bring up another example, wallpaper.
Okay.
This beautifully designed wallpaper created by human thought and effort exists in the world.
Yeah.
But does that make it any less real than a tree that seemingly grew without human intervention?
I'm starting to see where they're going with this. It's like they're challenging us to reconsider what we consider real.
Yeah.
Is it just the physical stuff, or does our perception, our thinking, play a role in shaping reality itself?
You're catching on quickly. And this is where things get a little unsettling. They suggest that our thought processes, the way we categorize and label the world, might actually be creating limitations, preventing us from experiencing reality more fully.
So we could be trapped in a kind of mental box of our own making. That's a bit scary, isn't it?
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
And it ties directly into their discussion of truth, goodness, and beauty.
Okay.
They make a bold claim. These qualities aren't actually things. They can't be measured or contained.
Wait, so if they're not things, where do they exist?
Right.
How could we even experience them?
That's the paradox they're wrestling with.
Right.
They suggest that truth, goodness, and beauty exist outside the realm of thought and measurement.
Okay.
Krishnamurti even says, the truth of the world of reality is its falseness.
Whoa.
That one really threw me for a loop.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack. So are they saying our everyday reality is somehow false?
Right.
That everything we experience is a lie?
Not exactly. It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
They're pointing to the limitations of our perception, the way our thinking filters and shapes our experience. They're suggesting that there's a deeper truth, a more fundamental reality that lies beyond these limitations.
I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying there's more to the world than what we can see and measure. There's a deeper level of reality that we might be missing because we're so caught up in our thoughts and perceptions.
You're getting it. And this leads them to introduce the idea of two distinct energies at play.
Okay.
One energy is limited, belonging to the world of thought and measurement. The other is limitless, originating from what they call nothingness.
Okay, hold on. Nothingness.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a bit more? It sounds a bit, empty.
It's definitely a challenging concept, nothingness as they're using it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean like a literal void. It's more about a state of pure potentiality, a source beyond our typical ways of thinking and perceiving. It's like trying to imagine a color you've never seen before.
Right.
You can only approach it by understanding what it's not.
That's helpful. So it's not about emptiness. It's about something beyond our current understanding.
Yeah,
And this nothingness is the source of the second limitless energy.
exactly. And they use a powerful analogy to illustrate how these two energies operate. Polluted water. Imagine a pristine water source, like a pure spring, but downstream the water gets polluted, contaminated by human activity.
Okay, I'm following. So the pure spring represents the limitless energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the polluted water downstream represents the limited energy that's been shaped by thought and action in the world.
Precisely. The source remains pure,
Yeah.
untouched by the contamination. But in our reality, we mostly experience the polluted version.
That's a really vivid image.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder, can we ever access that pure source, that limitless energy,
Yeah.
while we're still stuck in this world of limitations?
Yeah.
Or are we forever doomed to drink from the polluted stream?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's what they grapple with next. Can these two energies interact? Can the truth of nothingness somehow penetrate and influence our limited reality?
Okay, I'm hooked. This is getting deep. Where do we go from here?
Well, next, they dive into a concept that might be even more mind-bending than nothingness: death.
Oh, boy.
But not just physical death. They're talking about ending on a much deeper level. They distinguish between ending in the realm of reality, which is, basically like changing form, like water turning into ice,
Oh.
and true ending, which is like total cessation.
Yeah.
No trace left, no motive, no purpose.
So are they saying death is more than just the body stopping?
Mm-hmm.
That there's a deeper kind of ending we need to grasp?
That's what they're exploring. Krishnamurti suggests that true ending isn't something to be feared. It's actually a key to understanding that nothingness we were talking about earlier.
But if it's true ending, no more me, how can that help me understand anything?
Right.
It sounds kind of, well, final.
That's where it gets tricky for our usual way of thinking. They're not talking about an ending that wipes everything out, but an ending to the limitations of our thought, our ego, our sense of separation from everything else.
So dying to the me that I think I am in order to experience something bigger, that's a pretty radical concept.
It is. And they don't offer easy answers. They talk about it like a process, a journey of letting go of attachments, not just to possessions, but to ideas, beliefs,
Yeah.
even our sense of self.
It's like they're saying in order to truly see the mountain, you have to let go of the map.
Exactly. The map in this case being all our preconceived notions about reality, truth, and even ourselves.
Okay.
They suggest that this kind of ending, this death of the self, opens us up to a different way of experiencing the world.
But could we really just switch off our ego like that? It feels like such a core part of who we are.
It's certainly not easy, but they point out that we experience these little deaths all the time.
Right.
The ending of a relationship, a job, even just a phase of life. Each one is an opportunity to practice letting go, to loosen the grip of our ego.
So each ending, even if it's painful, can be a step towards experiencing that deeper reality they're talking about.
That's what they seem to be suggesting. And they emphasize that it's not about seeking out suffering, but about approaching each ending, each challenge with awareness and a willingness to let go.
That makes sense. It's like instead of clinging to the shore, we need to learn to swim in the ocean of nothingness.
Yes.
But how do we even know where to swim?
They talk about the importance of asking the right questions.
Okay.
Not questions with a predetermined answer, but questions that challenge our assumptions, that open us up to new possibilities.
So it's about being curious, being willing to not know, rather than trying to force everything into our existing framework.
Exactly. And that kind of open-minded questioning naturally leads to more open-minded experiences.
Right.
They suggest that by letting go of our need to control and define everything, we become more receptive to the truth that's already present.
It's like they're saying the truth is already there. We just need to clear the way for it to reveal itself.
Beautifully put. They also delve into the concept of love as it exists in these two different realms.
Okay.
There's the love we experience in our everyday lives, often mixed with possessiveness, jealousy, all those messy human emotions.
Yeah, the kind of love that sometimes feels more like a roller coaster than a peaceful journey.
Right. And then there's the love they describe as existing in that state of nothingness.
Okay.
A love that's pure, unconditional, free from all those limitations.
So it's like comparing a flickering candle to the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Both are light, but one is limited, the other is boundless.
That's a great analogy. And what's really intriguing is that they suggest this pure, unconditional love can actually act in our reality, even though it originates from beyond our limited perception.
Wait, so even though we might not be able to fully grasp this limitless love, it can still influence our lives.
Right?
How is that possible?
That's where it gets kind of mystical, I'll admit.
Okay.
They don't offer a clear explanation, but they talk about it like a force, an energy that can work through us if we're open to it.
So it's not about trying to conjure this love, but about creating space for it to flow through us.
Exactly. And they suggest that the key to creating that space is once again letting go. Letting go of our ego-driven desires, our attachments, and allowing ourselves to be instruments of something larger than ourselves.
It's like they're saying we need to become empty vessels so that love can fill us.
That's a powerful way to put it. And they emphasize that this isn't about becoming passive or losing our individuality. It's about aligning ourselves with a greater purpose, allowing that limitless love to express itself through our actions.
So it's not about erasing ourselves, but about becoming a conduit for something bigger.
Precisely. And they acknowledge that this is a lifelong process, a constant practice of awareness and letting go.
Right.
It's about recognizing those moments when our ego is driving our actions and choosing to act from a place of love instead.
It sounds like a challenging but ultimately incredibly rewarding journey. But if we're so caught up in our limited perception, our ego, how do we even begin to access this other way of being?
They offer a few suggestions. They talk about the importance of meditation, of quieting the mind and observing our thoughts without judgment. They also emphasize the power of self-reflection, of honestly examining our motivations and behaviors.
So it's about becoming more mindful, more aware of ourselves and the patterns that keep us stuck in our limited way of seeing the world.
Exactly. And they suggest that as we become more aware, we naturally start to make different choices that are aligned with that deeper truth, that limitless love.
It's like they're saying the more we let go of our ego, the more we become who we truly are meant to be.
That's a beautiful way to summarize it. It's not about achieving some kind of perfect state, but about continually shedding the layers that prevent us from experiencing the fullness of reality.
It sounds like a lifelong journey of peeling back the onion, revealing more and more of our true selves as we go. But if there's no final destination, how do we know if we're on the right path?
They suggest that the path itself will reveal the truth. As we let go of our attachments and open ourselves to something greater, our lives will naturally start to reflect that shift.
So it's not about checking off a list of accomplishments, but about the quality of our being, the way we move through the world.
Exactly. And they emphasize that this is an individual journey. There's no one right way to do it.
Right.
It's about finding what resonates with you, what helps you connect with that deeper truth, that limitless love.
So it's about trusting our own inner compass, even if it leads us off the beaten path.
Absolutely. They encourage us to embrace the unknown, to be open to the possibility that there's more to life than what we currently perceive.
It's like they're saying, don't be afraid to climb the mountain, even if you don't know what you'll find at the top.
Exactly. And the climb itself is where the real transformation happens. It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get a sense of the vastness of what they're exploring here. It's not about finding simple answers, but about embarking on a lifelong journey of self-discovery and transformation.
That's a great way to put it. And they remind us that this journey is not about becoming superhuman or achieving some kind of enlightenment.
Right.
It's about embracing our humanity with all its messiness and imperfections and allowing ourselves to be guided by something greater than ourselves.
So it's about becoming more fully human, not less.
Precisely. And they suggest that as we do so, we naturally become more compassionate, more loving, and more connected to the world around us.
It's like they're saying that by embracing our own humanity, we tap into a universal humanity.
Exactly. And that connection to something larger than ourselves can be a source of immense joy, peace, and fulfillment.
It sounds like they're offering a path not just to personal transformation, but to a more loving and connected world.
That's the beauty of their message. It's not just about individual enlightenment. It's about creating a better world for everyone.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired, but I also have to admit, I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
There's a lot to digest.
It is. And it's important to remember that this is just one conversation, one perspective on these complex topics.
So it's not about taking their words as gospel, but about using them as a springboard for our own exploration.
Exactly. And they encourage us to do just that, to question their ideas, to test them against our own experience, and to come to our own understanding of what truth, goodness, beauty, and reality mean to us.
So after this deep dives into some pretty heavy concepts, I mean, where does that leave us? I'm feeling a mix of awe and maybe a little bit of like, okay, now what?
That's completely understandable. This dialogue isn't about giving you like a to-do list for enlightenment.
Yeah.
It's more like they've pointed out this vast landscape and given us some tools for exploration.
So how do we even begin to apply these ideas to like our everyday lives?
Right.
It all sounds so well lofty.
They actually offer a few practical suggestions. Remember how we talked about perception being the key to desire and action?
Yeah.
They suggest that, we practice observing the world more closely, paying attention to our immediate experience.
Okay.
Without, getting caught up in judgments or interpretations.
So instead of walking down the street lost in thought, actually noticing the trees, the sunlight, the sounds around me.
Exactly. And noticing our internal landscape, too.
Sure.
Our thoughts, feelings, sensations, without, labeling them as good or bad, right or wrong, just observing them as they are.
It sounds like a kind of mindfulness practice, like what you hear about in meditation.
It is. And they talk about the importance of quieting the mind through meditation, creating space for that stillness where true understanding can emerge.
Okay, that makes sense. But beyond meditation, are there other ways to kind of integrate these ideas into our daily lives?
They emphasize the importance of self-reflection, taking time to honestly examine our motivations, our behaviors, the patterns that, keep us stuck
Yeah.
in our limited ways of seeing the world.
So not just blindly reacting to life, but taking a step back and asking, why am I doing this? What's really driving my actions?
Exactly. And as we become more aware of those underlying patterns, we can start to, make conscious choices.
Okay.
Choices that are aligned with that deeper truth, that limitless love they talk about.
So it's a process of becoming more self-aware
Mm-hmm.
and then using that awareness to guide our actions.
Right. And they remind us that this is a lifelong journey, not a destination. There will be times when we fall back into old patterns, when we get caught up in our ego and we lose sight of that deeper connection.
So it's about progress, not perfection.
Absolutely. And each time we catch ourselves slipping, each time we choose to realign with that deeper truth, it's a victory.
It sounds like they're encouraging us to be kind to ourselves on this journey, to acknowledge our humanity without judgment.
Exactly. They emphasize that self-compassion is essential. We can't access that limitless love if we're constantly beating ourselves up for not being good enough.
That's really reassuring.
Yeah.
It makes this whole journey feel less intimidating, more accessible.
That's the beauty of their message. It's not about achieving some superhuman state of enlightenment.
Yeah.
It's about embracing our humanness and allowing ourselves to be transformed by that deeper truth, that limitless love.
So what does that transformation actually look like in practice?
Right.
How do we know if we're moving in the right direction?
They suggest paying attention to the quality of our relationships, the way we interact with the world around us.
Okay.
As we become more aligned with that deeper truth, our actions naturally become more compassionate, more loving, more kind.
So it's not just about internal change. It's about how that change manifests in our interactions with others.
Exactly. And they suggest that, as we become more loving and compassionate, we create a ripple effect, inspiring those around us to do the same.
So by working on ourselves, by embracing this journey of transformation, we can actually contribute to creating a better world.
That's the ultimate message of this dialogue. It's not just about personal enlightenment. It's about creating a more loving and connected world for everyone.
Wow. That's a powerful and inspiring vision.
Oh.
But I have to ask, if this nothingness they talk about is so beyond our comprehension, how can we ever truly know if we're connecting with it?
That's a great question. And they acknowledge that, we can't grasp it intellectually. It's more about experiencing it, feeling it in our hearts. They describe it as, a sense of peace, of deep connection,
Right.
of boundless love that transcends all limitations.
So it's about trusting our intuition, our feeling sense, rather than trying to figure it all out with our minds.
Exactly. And they suggest that as we deepen our connection to that source, we become more intuitive, more in tune with the flow of life.
It sounds like they're encouraging us to take a leap of faith, to trust that even though we can't fully grasp it intellectually, there's something greater guiding us.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about surrendering to the mystery, to the unknown, and allowing ourselves to be guided by something beyond our limited understanding.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
I hope they feel inspired to embark on their own journey of exploration, to question their assumptions, to let go of what no longer serves them, and to open themselves to the possibility of a more loving and connected world.
It's a call to action, to step out of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown,
Yeah.
to realize that the truth, goodness, beauty, and reality we seek are not out there somewhere, but within us, waiting to be discovered.
Beautifully said. And remember, the journey itself is the reward. It's about the growth, the insights, the love we experience along the way.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep opening your hearts to the limitless possibilities that exist within you and all around you.